I'd like to start by telling you one more thing about myself that you may not know, is I love weddings. I'm not sure why or how this obsession came about, because I'd never actually been to a wedding until my later teenage years. I think it's something to do with like the magic of two people falling in love and wanting to spend forever together. So since we know that I love weddings, I'm going to give you guys a brief history lesson on weddings and traditions and share with you some fascinating tales about how they started so you can see how they've evolved into what we celebrate today, as found throughout the web and books I've picked up online. So where do all weddings start? The engagement ring. In the early days of marriage by purchase, the engagement ring served two purposes. One included partial payment for the bride, and the second was a symbol of the groom's honorable intentions. The diamond was first found in medieval Italy, and because of its hardness, it was chosen to stand for enduring love. Superstition says that diamonds sparkle with love and fire. Bridal showers are just as steep in history as details of the actual wedding day. This tradition began 3 centuries ago in Holland. If the father didn't approve of his daughter's fiancé and refused to give her a proper dowry, the girl's friends would come to her rescue, showering her with gifts so that she would have a dowry and could marry the man of her choosing. In the 1920s, Marshall Field's department store in Chicago originated the bridal registry to help stylish newlyweds select their chosen china, silver, and crystal patterns, and alert their family and friends. A post-war wedding boom, along with the birth of portable cameras, made professional photography and, of course, albums a key part of weddings. The circular shape of the wedding ring, the unbroken circle, has symbolized undying, unending, eternal love and commitment since the days of the early Egyptians. It's believed that pharaohs of Egypt first used the circle, shaped with no beginning or end, as a symbol of eternity. Durable iron was used by Romans to symbolize the permanence of marriage. Now, which finger do we wear our ring on? Our left fourth finger. It was believed that there was a vein in the fourth finger on the left hand that ran directly to the heart, which denoted the strong connection of a heartfelt love and commitment to one another. Although during these days of modern autopsy, this long-held belief has found not to be so. However, the Chinese have a beautiful belief as to what the fingers stand for. 1. Your first thumb represents your parents. The index finger represents your siblings. The middle finger represents yourself, and the ring finger represents your life partner, while your pinkies represent your offspring. Now do this with me with your fingers facing each other, with your middle fingers in. Notice when you pull your thumbs apart, your parents, your fingers come apart. Your index finger, your siblings, also come apart. Your pinkies come apart as your offspring will eventually separate. They are meant to separate. Now when you try to pull your ring finger apart, notice that they do not come apart. That is because you're not meant to leave your life partner. You're not meant to be separated, and I think that's so cute. So, anyways, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. In the Victorian age, the something old was meant to tie the bride to her family and her past, while the something new represented her new life and the property of a new family. This something borrowed was taken from someone who already had a successful marriage to pass on as good luck, and the color blue stood for faithfulness, loyalty, and purity. Now, have you ever heard someone tell an anxious bride when it starts to rain on her wedding day, "Don't worry, they say rain on your wedding day is good luck"? I thought, yeah, right? Well, a knot that becomes wet is extremely hard to untie. Therefore, when you tie the knot on a rainy day, your marriage is supposedly just as hard to unravel. We can thank the Hindu traditions for this belief. In Roman times, they believed that the veil denoted the subordination of a woman to a man. The thicker the veil, the more traditional the implication of wearing it. Lifting of the veil at the end of the ceremony symbolizes male dominance. If the bride takes the initiative in lifting it herself, she is showing more independence. In Europe's Middle Ages, it was traditional to bathe only twice a year, Christmas and during the summertime. This was due to laborious process in preparing enough hot water and the rarity and expense of soap. The problem was that weddings usually took place in the spring. A solution was the bride would carry a large bouquet of flowers, masking any bodily odors. The practice of the garter toss was devised as a way to physically protect the bride from the wedding guests. In France, the bride would shudder with terror at the end of the ceremony because guests would rush at her at the altar to snag a piece of her dress, which was considered to be good luck. Apparently, these practices were so intrusive and invasive that someone somewhere decided to pacify the mob by tossing out the garter. So who hasn't noticed that basically the entire bridal party dressed much like the bride and groom? It was once common for the bride and her groom to tell all their friends to walk together to the church the morning of the wedding, afraid someone, maybe a rejected suitor, would spot the happy couple and put a curse on them. These disguises tricked evildoers and let their real bride and groom live happily ever after. In ancient times, men sometimes captured women to make them their brides. A man would take along his strongest, most trusted friend to help him fight the resistance of the woman's family. This friend, therefore, considered the best man among his friends. In England, the best man accompanied the groom up the aisle to help defend the bride. In early Roman times, a thin loaf of bread was broken over the bride's head at the close of a ceremony to symbolize fertility, which makes me wonder if this is a tradition of the most dreaded part of weddings, where people smash cake into each other's faces. No, thank you. In ancient times, many of the first marriages were by capture, not choice. When early man felt it was time to take a bride, he would often carry an unwilling bride to a secret place where her relatives wouldn't find them. While the moon went through its phases, about 30 days, they hid from the searchers and drank brew from honey, hence the word honeymoon. During the days of marriage by capture, the bride was certainly not going peacefully into the groom's abode. Thus, she was dragged or carried across the threshold. Even in earlier times, it was believed that family demons followed the woman to keep her demons from going into the bride's or the groom's home. She was carried across the threshold upon entering for the first time. There are, of course, multiple explanations of each piece of wedding lore, but as I've been planning my own wedding, I felt the pressure of society to do things a certain way. I did some research as to why such things as wearing a veil or having bridesmaids were a must-have at the weddings. Wedding customs have come from us from generations all over the world, and it's good to know where the traditions and customs originate so each bride can choose the ones that make her ceremony special.